My name's Emma. I'm one of the co-founders of Haulsale. It's a new reseller to reseller bulk marketplace, and I'm here with Brittney Hatcher. She owns Cute Case Resale. It's a mystery box resale business for resellers. She's been reselling for quite a long time, and she's been a part of our launch. And I wanted to talk with her a little bit about her journey reselling and her experience so far in Haulsale, and see if we can gain some wisdom from her many years of bulk selling. So, Brittney, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hello, I am Brittney Hatcher. Everything that Emma said, plus I was a single mom for quite some time, which kind of spearheaded me really getting into reselling and not doing so many jobs that were after hours, having to find a babysitter and that such. So I'm really excited about wholesale and to talk about reselling in general because it's a really good opportunity and avenue for people who just don't have the time or the luxury to work additional hours, but want some extra money and need to clear things out of their house and such. So I'm excited about this interview.
Oh, good. Excellent. So you mentioned that you got into reselling because you were kind of looking for something there. You didn't have to be away from home when you were looking for additional hours. How long ago was that you started reselling?
About 3.5 years ago, I started actually doing it, full time. It was really part time, but I was blessed enough for it to bring in full time income, which I didn't expect at first.
Obviously, more and more jobs are going remote, and more people are working at home. But most companies have, like, if you're working for like a corporation at home, they'll have like explicit language in your contract that you can't be the only person taking care of your kids at home. I see this industry expanding and this as a career path for people expanding, not only because there's the demand of people wanting to buy secondhand and people are fulfilling that need of like getting those products out to the consumer, otherwise they wouldn't be able to find them, but also because it is such a like independent type of work that people can do and really do it on their own terms and not have to spend everything that comes in the door goes right back out on childcare. So I think you're probably not alone at all. So you said about 3.5 years ago, you started doing this full time. Was that around the time when you started selling your inventory in bundles, or about how long ago was that where you started selling in bulk?
So actually during the pandemic was when I started to sell in bundles. So I don't know. I know it was different for people in various states, but I can explain how it happened here. Sorry, let me turn this up. How it happened here where I am. So sorry, let me turn it off. Okay. Where I am is that we started getting these notes and we started getting in the news, which is kind of like, we don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening, but we're limiting people being out on the roads. We're closing down stores. Literally stores were not open for me to actually go get inventory. The Goodwill men of the thrift outlets, even some of the local warehouses, they knew me that I would come and get things, but if they can only have the owner working there and no support staff, then they literally had to shut down. It was the case where you couldn't have people that weren't there to basically run the backbone of your business, like your HR, if you will, the thing that kept it just barely afloat. You couldn't be there. So customers weren't there. Our area Goodwills were closed. And then eventually they started letting a small number of people come in, but that came, that might have been 3 weeks or so or whatever. So my point is, if you were a person who went to go purchase your items to flip, that wasn't happening. So likewise, since other people weren't able to go get inventory, and I was already a hoarder, so that played into my ability to actually have. And I said, you know what? Let me see about selling the stuff that I do have in bulk, because my individual stuff just wasn't hitting off, because people were also not able to go to their everyday jobs. Gas was taking a hit. The restaurant business was taking a hit.
Fewer occasions to dress up. And also there was, I think, like a tightening of the belt at the beginning when people were like, I don't know what this means for my employment. And so they weren't spending so much. I imagine that like it for all resellers, there probably was a dip. But perhaps at the same time, I wonder if maybe people who otherwise would have been buying full price stuff like new in stores, maybe they would reconsider and look at secondhand stuff that they would get on like a Poshmark or something.
You know what I mean? They also didn't have an option but to look at your eBay.
Exactly. So it probably, I imagine there were some push and some pull that made it kind of volatile there for a while in terms of how much was selling.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like anything else where I look around now and it's like, have people wearing masks, have not. The whole point that just human nature, we have the ideal that, okay, we'll be a part of something or in a little group that's paying attention for a good, maybe a good week. But after that, we're over it. We want to live life again, you know? So I knew that at some point people were going to be buying, but that still meant that resellers who weren't able to get inventory, they still needed that. I had
Yes.
to shut down my storage. It was a 10 by 30 storage and it was packed to a max of items because I was just, storing this up, trying to figure out how I was going to make a turn with the business. And so at the time when Corona hit, I did have a lot of inventory. And I said, you know what? Since eBay is not spiking for me right now, Poshmark is not for whatever reason, what if I just kind of switch it up and send and advertise that I have lots for sale for resellers who may be looking for things? And some of that, I give some of that credit to like Instagram and you being able to just be an everyday person and advertise to people who you'll never come across, throw
Yeah.
in a couple keywords. And now it's like, okay, bundle, reseller, lot, distribution, liquidation. And now people are looking to see, oh, wait a minute, maybe I can get some stuff from her since I can't go out and get it. So that was really the turning point for me. And once I did that, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to, it would have taken me, even as a fast lister, the amount of items that I could sell in a day. I did a Christmas sale and I did like 125 for bundles of 10 items, good items. But I sold out in 24 hours. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I just made $1,000 and I didn't have to list a thing. You know what I mean? I listed the bundle. You know what I'm saying? I got to say, hey, I got this bundle. You're going to love it. You need this stuff or whatever, and a few other details, and people bought it. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the way to go for me.
That's awesome. So yeah, at first it sounds like you were primarily advertising via Instagram. Was that like you just did it through that channel first? At what point did you go onto Facebook?
So I had Facebook is just my comfort zone, and
Yes.
it's personal. Where here in the local community, helping moms and the type of work I used to do for the school district and such, I don't want to say a following, but I had a community, if you will. So it was just I tried Instagram and I still try it, but it's just like my comfort level. So I took it back to Facebook with a group because I feel like you can be so much more personable.
So you did find that the process of selling bulk lots was doable through social media. One of the things that we're thinking though with Haulsale is that like not everybody has a knack for social selling in that same way. Like you are particularly talented at social content. I can say this from true experience. But so I think what we are hoping one of the benefits of Haulsale is that if you don't particularly have a knack for that social selling, if you don't want to monitor or process those bulk sales on your own, that we can do that for you outside of just listing. All that's you have to do is list, and then you get a shipping label in the mail and you put it away. So we are trying to make that process of what you tapped into even easier. And then also, there are a number of Facebook groups where people have already kind of started selling in bulk to one another, people like yourself, but they're kind of fractured. And they also rely on these sort of like hacked together systems of like PayPal, and like if they don't pay the invoice,
Absolutely.
oh well, I guess they can be banned from the Facebook group, but that's not much. It requires a lot of back and forth. It requires a lot of negotiation and communication, and we really set out to make it that people could tap into that bulk economics that you found to be so helpful without having to necessarily build up their own independent business from the ground up, that instead they can kind of come to us as a platform. And so you've definitely carved out like a really nice niche, and people know that your mystery boxes are awesome, and you've got so many happy customers and such great word of mouth. But I would hope that for people who are just kind of breaking into selling in bulk, who haven't had a chance to build up an audience, that they can benefit from those same, the convenience, the unit economics of being able to sell so much more, so much faster. So that's sort of where we see, like, yes, the people like yourself have had success doing this kind of independently on socials, but we want it to be that you don't necessarily have to, that we can have a version that's kind of set up for you to do that.
Right. And I love this too, because it's one of those things where, I know how to put this in bulk, but you got to understand, I also sell basically specific women's wear that is kind of medium to high end, because that's the niche of the people that I know that they're looking for, that come to me during that period of time. But I
Mhm.
have two growing boys, and when they grow out of size 10 Jordans, I have 10 or 12 of them that I don't want to deal with, that I don't have the custom made base for, that I don't want to list individually. I can see moms, I can see, instead of a garage sale, nope, I'm putting this on Haulsale, as a lot. And then you'll have the collectors and you'll have the other resellers who want to come and buy that stuff. So yeah, although I'm able to do it that way, I can see Haulsale being a very good option, from decor to the clothing to just all sorts of things.
It's true that even someone like yourself who managed to carve out such a strong audience, it's a pretty niche audience, and that's, I think, part of what the success has been, that you do like luxury, high end, maybe not luxury, but every once in a while you throw in a pretty nice thing in there, I see. But high end, like name brand,
Right, and
like new
trend. So
things.
if my stuff is not on trend for that audience, I'm still like, okay, I have to go back and list it. No, I can literally have a basket or a bucket or a side of the closet that's just for wholesale stuff, and at the end of the
Totally.
week, I'm able to group that together and put it on wholesale. So it helps me with storage. It helps me not just go redonate what I could make a few coins from.
Yeah.
So I definitely see how wholesale, from the person who doesn't want to figure out how to, grab an audience. The audience is there for them at wholesale already.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one of the things that we're most excited about, it, like at the time of recording, we've been open for like a little bit more than a month. I think like 5 weeks, 5.5 weeks, and we've actually been like kind of artificially containing how many people can be on the site as we work through bugs and get in the basic features. And we've already had so much demand. Like we already have such a
That's
huge audience of people who are like, yeah, I want to buy. And oftentimes they're both buyers and sellers, but they're across all different types of categories. So this is a place where somebody, even if your specialty is, say, women's clothing or electronics or shoes,
right.
if you have a source that gives you more than just that niche, you now have a place where you can kind of effectively become a middleman between that original source where you're getting stuff by the pound or whatever, and somebody who does specialize and has the audience. And this is a way that you can kind of get a cut of it without having to leave it behind or just redonate. So I think we're really excited about how diverse that we see. A lot of clothing sellers on Wholesale so far, but we have a pretty diverse audience. And like I say, that kind of the way that Facebook groups are sort of fractured. It's like, do you have to advertise in all these groups and manage comment threads and messages in all these separate groups? Or can you kind of go to one audience, you do one auction, you set it and forget it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely found a good place to plug yourselves in. So I can definitely see just the everyday, person cleaning out their garage, cleaning out their closet, to a bit, person who has a warehouse, but they need to they want to allocate this section just for wholesale inventory. I can see it working both ways.
Good. And so far it is working, like are kind of like building out these features. Like any tech problem, there's always stuff you didn't foresee and stuff taking a long time. And so it's been a little bit of a slow grind to get things to the point where we're ready to really open it up. But part of why I'm doing this interview with you now and why we want to like spread the word really in earnest right now is we are ready to do that. The last finishing touches were replacing our login system that everyone hates.
Well, I just want to say kudos to you though for the newsletter, for creating a Facebook group early on, for just communicating with people that you brought on, because you've done excellent with communication. You really, really have. And so that makes it, because sometimes people don't realize when something is brand spanking new with users from all over the place, integrations and such. This is like it's a beta and it takes a while to get things going, but you have such good communication that it makes it really easy to be patient, work through any bugs or whatever. So I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
Oh, well, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because this is my first time really. I mean, I've been in members of Facebook groups. I've been in the reselling groups for a long time, but it's new for me to be talking to so many people from so many different places simultaneously. And I'm happy that I'm keeping people at least a little bit happy. So you mentioned earlier that like the thing that really clicked for you about selling wholesale was a Christmas sale you did where you really first started bundling. And can you tell me again what the numbers were like for you, and what was that kind of like? How much did you make in such short amount of time compared to how much you think you could have
So,
made off that stuff?
give you a good example. So I have been a bin shopper. Like I love going to the bins. And for people who don't know what the bins are, it's Goodwill outlet where they sell clothing by the pound. So I'll go through and I'll look for stuff. And I just, between people that I've made friends there who are also resellers, me grabbing the type of stuff they like, vice versa, I'll happen upon, let's just say I'm leaving there with 50 to 60 pounds every couple days when I'm going. Well, just an individual person who has, a life, kids, dog, and when I was working part-time as well, rather than items being listed that same day, they're sitting here. You know what I mean? So I just didn't even have the manpower to list those things. That's why they always say saving it from the landfill. Because yeah, if we're not in there buying it, it's going because it's so much stuff. So, okay, you know what? Definitely the pandemic had added to it. But I said, you know what? If I'm paying, let's say roughly between 149 and 161 a pound for this stuff, and resellers are needing it, and they can make anywhere between $30 and $40 on for each item. What if I threw a price on there, included shipping, so they don't have to worry about that, and they know for a fact the items that they're getting, they're going to be able to flip those and make 3, 4, 5, or 6 times their money when they get a box. So I said, let me just try it. And my audience on Instagram wasn't even really that big, or on Facebook wasn't really that big, but I can't stress enough to just throw it out there and see what happens. So I threw it out there, and little, like maybe about 5 sold instantly, went to sleep or whatever, woke up, and then they had sold out. So literally, if we get down to the basic numbers of it, to just give an example, I make about $98 on every $125 box that I sell. So
Okay.
so let's think about, if I come home and I have spent 50 pounds, let's just keep the math easy. Let's say I spent that would be $200 or whatever max that I spend in a week when I schedule my days out. Let's say I spend $200 on inventory. I'm gonna have stacks of inventory in here, so I'm cutting into my profits every time I step out. If I didn't figure out a way to bulk sell these items, you know what I mean?
That's such an incredible point. And honestly, like one I haven't even really considered. Because when I think of like the costs of holding onto your inventory, I think of it as almost, especially when it's someone like yourself who's like living, with kids in the house, and
Yeah.
it's, you don't have necessarily an on-site warehouse or anything like that. For me, I'm thinking it's like, oh, the kind of like psychological burden of your space being like the
That's
cost of
another part.
space.
Yeah.
But really what's the most impactful is the fact that it's like you're losing out on the compounding investment of the money that's tied up in that. And it's true that the way a reseller grows is by taking the profits of their first, as they're trying to get the ball rolling, you take those profits and you reinvest it into inventory. And if it's locked up in the inventory, that's an opportunity cost that you're missing totally. So yeah, and then by moving these things quickly, you can really unlock your investment a lot faster.
Absolutely. And it made me able to build, because think about that. If that stuff's sitting in that space, nothing else can sit in that space.
Right.
Meaning new inventory for me to sell to other people can't go there. So I think that where at first I want to say I had like a 10 by 10 storage, and I'm still listing online, but I'm listing online when I can. And I'm listing online when stuff isn't moving. And then I say, well, maybe I need to cross list. Okay, so I'm cross listing, but even with doing that, it's still that same, if you will, that lot A of individual items that I'm now using my same amount of little bitty time to put in B, C, and I'm looking over there, and the mountain of inventory is just growing because I still haven't figured out a way to get it out as quick as possible. So now I don't have anything against listing, but I do have a certain price point, and I take out the things that I can list that day. If I can't list it in that day, and I know that I'm going to be, acquiring more inventory, whether it's a liquidation pallet, or if it's me going out and getting it, then it's going to be boxed up in some form of fashion so we can get out of here, because I'm already going the next day and I need that capital to be able to put into the next opportunity.
Yeah, I think that you've really tapped into what we want to let everyone access. Because you see that like, well, if I could get 40 or 50 for this item, but what if that money that if you spent it rather than sitting on it for, whatever 3, 4 months it takes for that to sell, you could have earned on that money enough to make it up to 50 and done it with less effort and time.
The reality is something like Haulsale, you have the ability to bid on what you want, or buy out what you want. You can receive it, and you have a really good opportunity to kind of gauge the area that you're going to store your stuff in. So I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody is living in a an elderly home. Let's say they're living in a shared space with someone else. They may not be able to just go and get a pallet, but they
Mhm.
may be able to go on Haulsale and say, okay, wait a minute, they're shipping this and the dimensions are this. I can put this over here in this corner and I can still participate in reselling and make my extra $1,000 a month that I need. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So it's so much different than some of the other sites where you're not necessarily sure what you're getting and how big it is or whatever. You have the opportunity to run the gamut and participate in this. Lady that's in my group, I don't even know how we got in a conversation, but I love that Facebook is more conversational because eventually I was like, well, you know what? Y'all can all join me at the bins. We should have a bin day of it. And she messaged me and she said, well, the bins is not really friendly for people in a wheelchair. The way my mind is, I said, I'm going to push you in this wheelchair and nobody's going to bother you. But it put me in the mindset and that reminder that, okay, there's always going to be a reason or people who cannot fare in these different
Always.
places. So that's another reason why a site like Haulsale it is needed for people who don't want to, can't, don't feel like it, whatever the reason, to
Yeah.
get inventory and such. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really hope so. And so far it does seem that way. We've talked to lots of people who are like, I don't want to leave my home. I can't leave my home, but I'm interested in bulk, but I also can't fit a whole pallet in here,
right.
And so, yeah, we really want to be something that's in between, something that's like anybody, no matter what stage in their reselling career they are in, and no matter what their limitations are around accessing bulk sources, can now sort of get into and tap into the benefits of buying in bulk or selling in bulk. So you are obviously you're still keeping your the Cute Case Resale business going, and it's going fabulously. But you're also starting to list stuff on Wholesale, like we talked about, some stuff kind of outside of that niche
Right.
of high-end women's clothing, like you've been doing. What kind of stuff have you listed so far?
So my focus, I have the way that my mind is set up. I have to assign something to something.
Mhm.
So I'm going to stick with men's neckties. I've been calling a few sources so that I can get those in bulk, which is good. I'll still obviously have to spend a couple days combing through them, looking through them, making sure it's not ripped or that there are no fraud or fake items or whatever in there, whatever. But that'll give me the opportunity to itemize by like 80s, 90s ties, vintage ties, geometric, if there's sports, Looney Tunes, that kind of thing or whatever. So I'm gonna check actually after we get off to see how my tie lots are doing. But
You have bids in on both.
oh yay, that's amazing. That makes me really happy because I pulled out like 10 more lots or whatever that I'm gonna throw on there. I think I can throw
Nice.
those on there today. But
It's
that's going to
crazy
be
how well men's ties are selling. I
it's
like didn't know.
but you know what? You know what? You know how long I've had those ties, Emma? Back when I had my 10 by 30 storage during the pandemic that I was paying $199, then $240, then $320 a month for dormant inventory. And so now you tell me that in a week's time I put these ties on there and I have bids on both. This is evidence of wholesale. This is evidence because I've had them for at least a year and they were dormant just because my thought was I was going to list them individually because there's some good, good ties, some good brands and such.
Mhm.
But it goes back to manpower. It just is what it is.
Mhm.
It's still about getting the stuff out there, you know?
And then there are sellers out there who have the manpower,
Yeah.
and they've got the templates and they've got the great storage and they're like burning through inventory faster than they can source, right? So we definitely want to encourage people to move their inventory fast through this site. And that's why we reach out to people if we're like, I'm not sure if this makes the most sense for buyers who are going to have to pay, fees to buy and fees to sell again and shipping. And so we do try and give some guidance because we really want to make it that when buyers arrive on our site, they're consistently seeing things that are at a good price, and they're more likely to return if they don't have to sift through things that are, priced in an unreasonable way. Because it is important to remember that the cost of goods is probably higher than you might consider as a seller right away. And also they're going to be the ones doing the work of parting it out and listing individually. So their labor costs are higher than yours for putting it on the site. So, but that being said, there's still, there is a wide breadth of your ability to profit and their ability to profit. And as we grow the site, like I say, we haven't even really fully opened this up. As we fully open it up to buyers, and we're really improving the shop page so that it's easier to discover what's on there. People can search better. Basically, we'll be able to see this is a popular auction, and we'll even be able to, I think one of the things we're going to attempt to do is kind of try and promote lots that are priced very competitively, and try and bring those to the top.
I think also with it being a new site, I think I can't go in it thinking it's like eBay or OfferUp or any other
Yeah,
thing.
it's
So
not.
no, listen to what I'm saying now. It makes sense for me to put my lots on. Let me get a few going. Let me see what they sell for. And now I can figure out what a good formula is for Haulsale.
Mhm.
Because the formula that works on Poshmark is going to be one over there. The one that worked because you're thinking, oh, okay, 20% or whatever shipping included that way, but you're kind of the 5 pounds type thing, where it's different on Haulsale, it's different on eBay. So I think it's important to realize, okay, we're on a brand spanking new site. The slate is clean. Let's see what we can do here, and let's create our own personal formula for what the type of things that we list.
I like to think that the patience people are investing in us starting this thing from scratch, totally custom, will pay off in the ability that we have to really build this thing 100% tailored to what people want. If it was, a gigantic site like eBay or Poshmark or something, it's they're so big and they already have their thing all built, and it's you can't steer a gigantic ship that fast. Whereas we're really trying to be as lean as we can. We're trying to respond to people as fast as they can. So even if it means a little bit of a learning curve on the front end, we hope that it will pay off in terms of creating something that's really custom and actually what people want. So you found it to be pretty easy to upload the ties. One of the other things that you uploaded in the past, you did give it a try, our sort of item by item uploader, which is good for maybe slightly higher price point items. I wonder, what did you think about that as it compares to a site like Poshmark or single individual listings?
The thing that I like the most about doing the individual lots on individual item lots on Haulsale, and then I'll talk about the group lot, the ties, is that I get to name my lot. That's huge because off top, I can call it something if people are looking for size small, medium, luxury tops. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It kind of stops the scroll, if you will.
Mhm.
And not only that, I didn't feel like I had to create a picture that people had to kind of scroll through, if that made any sense, that I
Sure.
can still put, they're still expecting that lot feel. So just because Haulsale is the way it is, it made it a lot easier for me to create that individualized item lot. And I was actually amazed at how quick it was. Both if I had my pictures already in my gallery and I was uploading to the lot,
Mhm.
as well as if I was taking the picture inside the lot. It was very, very fast. Another thing that I like on both options, the individual item and the bulk lots, that I can be as detailed or not detailed as I want. Obviously, you're going to have it's some things that you have to have, which only makes sense. We got to have the category, we got to have the brand. We need
Brand.
how many items are, in this lot. And I love that that's very specific because I need my customers to know what to expect.
Mhm.
But I love that there are some guided, maybe I'll call them categories, where I can enter more information if it applies to my lot. But if
Mhm.
it doesn't, and I'm done in 4 clicks and my lot is up, so I really like that ease of being able to say, okay, you know what, this is a trend. Like, for example, here, like, if I had a million of these or whatever, or let's say I was doing 20 of these in a lot, where some of these are like detailed leaves, but then the other is Snoopy dog heads, and the other one is like the little MacBook symbol or whatever, that I have the option to write that information in there. But if they all just look like this, then I
Mhm.
don't have to, I have the option to not be as detailed in that area. So I really like the simple layout that y'all have. It literally, once I had my ties out and just folded out, it literally took me less than 4 minutes to get my lot up.
Yeah, because it's a reseller buying always, right? And a reseller doesn't need to be sold the story of how the product is going to change their life. They just need to know what it is and know if they can go look up a comp for it. Like it's so we would definitely want to. All of the other marketplaces are designed for that single item sale to the end user, the person who's going to go wear the blouse to work and cares exactly how it fits.
Right,
This is for somebody who's then going to take time to itemize, list it, and do
right.
it themselves. So we're so happy to have had you be a part of our launch. Like, we were starting from scratch and we're just coming in out of nowhere. So your participation has helped us build it to where we are now, and we're very excited to see how it'll continue to grow, and we're very excited to see how your lots do on the site. I know they're got some bids in already, so if you're looking for some luxury vintage men's ties, they are up and around right now.
That's gonna be my thing there. So I have many more to pull out.
Yeah, and for now, ties, and who knows what's next. You could end up being the shoe queen. You could end up being like home electronics. I don't know.
Options with Haulsale now. Now I'm not shying away from things. So yeah, I'm gonna try out some things.
Oh, good. All right, cool. Well, I'll say goodbye, and we'll talk again soon.